Hello everybody, my name is James. I'm going to go through the steps to take this unit apart to clean it out. This is one of those ventless dryers. I've had it for a few years now and it runs quite hot. We don't use any other setting except the manual setting at this point because I think the sensors don't work as well. They're probably plugged up with lint. So I'm going to go through all the steps to tear this down for anybody out there that's interested in seeing what's inside and how the thing works. And where to clean with, if you have to clean it out yourself before replacing the dryer. We're thinking about replacing it, but I figured maybe I should try to clean this out first in the areas that I can't normally get to. All we can really do is clean out the lint trap here, and then there's another one inside the unit that gets cleaned out every time you use it. But there are other areas of the unit that I'm sure are plugged up and full of all kinds of lint. So we're going to go through the steps on how to do that, and hopefully it'll be helpful for other people out there. All right, so the first steps here are going to be to remove the cover on the top to take the wiring out from the back of the unit. So most everything is removed using Torx drivers or nut drivers. So this 5/16 nut driver is going to be one size, and then the other smaller ones are going to be 1/4-inch nut driver. So pretty easy. Just take the one screw out, keep it together, and then we'll remove the 3 wires. It's important to remember which wire goes to which connection on the back when you go to reassemble it, so you don't hook those up backwards at all. Let's see, it looks like it's a smaller nut driver right here. So we'll take this screw off, try not to drop it into the unit. Okay, take this screw off. So it's black on the left, white in the middle, and then red on the right. All right, so I'll remove this screw. And sometimes, because it's easier to lose them, sometimes just put the screws back into the holes you took them out of, and then you won't get them mixed up later on when you get ready to reassemble. We'll save that to the side for later to reassemble the electrical cord on the back. Now the next steps, I'm going to speed up the time frame here take the remaining cover off. You can use a screw gun if you want, but in my case, I'm just going to use a hand tools. I like hand tools because this way I know if something's coming out or not going in very well. I'm going to disconnect this cable here so that it's not attached to the cover. This goes into the inside of the unit for the board. So I should have left that off earlier. I'll pull that ground cable off there. Put the screw back in so it doesn't get lost. And then there's also, I believe, I remove these 2 screws here because they're attached to an inner cover on the inside. So this one, actually this one. You can see now how the cover's already coming loose, so it's a good sign. And then the final screw is one down here to hold the drain hose for the water. Pull that one off. Okay. And upon closer inspection, I realized that you can actually clean this without taking the entire back cover off. There's just a small screw here. So you can remove that and clean that without having to remove the whole back cover. But since we're going through and removing everything to clean the whole unit out, that doesn't really matter in my case. It comes off either way. Okay, move the back cover, folds down. It does secure in the bottom. You can see these little tabs. So be careful when we go to reassemble it. These don't get damaged because they're going to lock into the bottom of the unit or putting it back together. So just to talk a little bit about what's back here, for those that are not aware, there's a large fan back here that essentially removes the heat off the condenser side of the AC unit. At the bottom of this whole assembly, there's an AC unit in here, and it's what's used to take the heat out of the air and then recirculate the air back through. So the air goes through the AC unit core, and it comes back up through this vent here, and it goes into the drum in order to start to dry the clothes. So we're going to end up taking some of this off and looking inside here, cleaning everything. There's some sensors, as you can see here on the side. These are probably covered up with lint. That's the reason why they're not picking up the temperature reading very well. And then on the top of the unit, we'll see the control board. Let's talk about the wiring at the top of the unit. Something else that's down here is there's a pump assembly down here. When we get into it a little closer, I'll show you the only thing I've ever had to replace on this unit since we've had it for a few years now is there's a little impeller, a little rubber impeller about that big. And the rubber impeller sits inside this pump unit. And that actually had a broken and damaged impeller once that broke on it. I glued it back together and it ran for maybe a year. And ultimately I had to purchase another one because it eventually broke again. And I got it from, I think it was, you can get them online and they come in from England, if I remember correctly. So it takes a few days to get. But if you have one of those on hand, then they're very cheap to buy them then, and you can just replace the impeller once you get to the pump assembly down here, which hopefully we should be able to see during this cleaning. All right, so the next step, we're going to take the top of this unit off. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. To remove this, and underneath here there's actually a wiring diagram, so let me show you what that looks like. I believe it is that one. It is these little screws here. So luckily all the smaller screws and the larger screws in the back, there's only two different sizes and lengths, so you don't really get mixed up. So you can just lift this up once you remove it and pull this cover forward, and then you can take the entire cover off the top. We'll put that onto the side. Okay. And then we will take a look. We'll take a look inside here. So here's the control board that you can see. Let's move this this way. So here's the control board. Believe it or not, here is the manual. Service technicians use only. So if you're a service technician or somebody at home and you just want to look, they have all the wiring diagrams in here. They have troubleshooting steps, how some of the things work, how to test and adjust certain stuff. So this is really all useful information, especially if you have any fault codes. You can see here on the one page, there's a fault code listing of what the different issues are. I may actually take this before I put it back together and scan this in and upload it to the YouTube video so people have it in case this is missing. Maybe a technician took it out before. But here's the relay control board here on the top. So I can get a little brighter light here so you can really see it well. There's a part number on here if you ever had to replace this relay control board. You get a new part number. There's some sensors, door sensors and stuff for the door. And then you have also, if you look here on the drum, this is the belt for the drum. So I've seen before when this unit gets really hot, it makes this horrible screeching sound and the drum doesn't turn. And you have to let it cool off before you can use it again. So hopefully once we get it all cleaned out and we find out where all the buildup is, that'll never happen again either for at least a few years. All right, so let's go to the back cover here. Take this, first what I want to do is because I'm recording, I don't have a second camera because I could take pictures of the wiring down here. But I'm just going to make a little note with the wires so that I know where they are on the sensors. So I got that written down. Now I can disconnect the red one here, the purple one, purple. These are taped together, so you can't really mix them up, even though they are common purple ones. Likely the wiring is they go in series, so it goes purple, then this one, and then it comes up to red back to the unit. So we're going to check and see what those are. It even says right on the side here it's a 1,300 watt, 240 volt heating coil. So instead what we'll do is we'll remove the entire chute here. Now, that's an interesting piece that they put there. I want to make sure I put that back in the right place. And also, the screws that hold this on are actually different lengths. You see here. So I'm going to make sure I put those back in the cover here after I take this off and out of the way to clean, so that I don't mix those up and put them in the wrong place later on. Let's see if I can get this guy to remove. Okay. So somebody must have cross-threaded that guy in the top of there. I won't mix him up. That to the side. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put that back in there for a minute. Put this guy in here. Now I don't need to worry about mixing the screws up. This one in here. It'll also help me make sure I put all the screws back in, because now if I try to put the cover on, it won't fit. So it looks like there's a pretty decent gasket here. It's probably losing some heat out the top here a little bit, because you can see the extra lint, but it's not too bad. As far as the heater goes, let's take a look inside here. This looks pretty clean. I was kind of surprised. I thought I would see a lot more debris. It looks like in order to remove the heater, probably have to take this screw off here in order to get the heating element to come out. And I kind of want to do that because I don't know how much might have built up on the core. So let me zoom in down here. Take this off here. So you can't get this guy apart, just to double check. Because all right, looks like that was the ticket. That's what was holding it together. So this is just a nice heater assembly. A lot of coils in here. Most important for me, if I was looking at this, I would just make sure nothing looks like it's discolored or burnt. Doesn't look like this really gets used that much. Probably gets used in emergencies in case the actual unit can't generate enough heat. But there's nothing at risk of shorting here. I'll probably just blow this out with an air gun quickly, but everything looks to be pretty clean with that. So for now, before I put it back together, I'm going to get everything apart so I can blow it all out and clean it out. I'm just going to put the screws back in so that I don't mix them up with anything else. That screw actually goes in there. Okay, that's that. And the other component, this is just a like a little overheat switch right here. That's inside. You can see it. So if that guy trips, then the current will go through and heat up the coils. So it's pretty good. All right. Now, I think my next steps. All right. I think the next steps are going to be to take off the sides so I can really get a good view on both sides. It's hard to do that when the unit is in the other room. It's probably going to get a little, things are going to be a little looser because without the sides, obviously the back that holds the drum in place could possibly move. So I'm going to get the sides off carefully and we'll see what we can see inside there. I just want to show you, you can also see, let's see here, take this off. You can see the core inside here. So one of the heat exchangers. And so that catches the water, and then water should go down into the pump that you can kind of see on this side. Look down inside, it's that black box right down there in the corner. So we're going to get inside here. You can see a lot of lint all around. I'm going to get also parts so we can clean this all up when we're inside. All right, let's take, see if we can get one of these sides off here. First, Take a look around here. Looks like I got some screws along the top up here. On the back side, I want to get at least, I'm honestly not sure. That side is going to come off very easily. We may not be able to do that. Take a look at this side without taking the front of the unit off to some degree. So maybe that's what we'll have to do. We might have to disassemble the front so we can get to both sides and blow everything out that way, because it does not appear we'll be able to get the sides off without the whole unit coming down. It might be too difficult. So I'm going to start with taking the front panel off here, and then we'll see where that gets us. Oh, there you go. Actually didn't need to take those off. These four, and I'll leave those in place for this plastic trim. That can stay there. So there's a little wire harness here. So I'll make sure we disconnect that. Most of these wire harnesses have little locks on them, so make sure that you disconnect the lock correctly. I'll show you what the lock looks like. Just put this screw back in so don't lose that one or mix it up with anything else. Okay, put that there. Now I won't mix those up. Show you what the locks look like here. All right, so to give you an idea, these locks on these plugs, they're just a little lever right here. Just to pull the lever back, and the plug should come right out pretty easily, just like that. You shouldn't have to force it out at all. So make sure that when you're taking this cover off, that you've disconnected the two cables, and then this way the entire cover can be removed. And what we have is this front of the unit to cover off. So next steps is we're going to take the front cover off of here, so that we can kind of see all the way through and see what we got going on over here. First step is going to be to remove this extra filter down here. So we'll pull that guy out. So it's not going to hang anything up on us. I don't think there's any screws inside there. No, there's not. So let's see now. We can get this guy off. Get this cover off here. Okay, get those three screws out. I don't know if any of these. Looks like there are some Phillips head screws that probably hold the lint holder in here. So put a lint holder out. We'll take these Phillips off. I think these screws can all stay. Let's see with the Phillips screwdriver up. I'm gonna end up putting those back in once I get the cover off. See if that gives us a little, as I take a piece off, really what I'm doing is I'm just checking to see what moves and what doesn't move. So, it appears that these probably all have to come off in order to go the next step here. We won't be able to do this without, because you can see how this is moving here, but clearly something is held up here. You can feel it on the inside. So we'll take all these off. These look like they're Torx bits. All right, looks like I got different Torx sizes here. See which one's the right one. Looks like the right one. Clearly, that screw is a little bit messed up there. So that's why I like to use this when I take them out, so I know that one of the screws was not installed correctly in the first place. This door is actually changeable. You can switch it from one side to the other. And that's the reason why there's so many screws over here. They're just taking up space for the door. Don't know what's holding that in. Let's lift up. There we go. So the door just lifts up. Got these little levers here. It can go either way. You can put it on this way, or you can put it on this way. All right, so right now, let's move it. That seems screws. Very fine. Okay. Okay. So there's 4 little screws on the bottom. That should give us ability to lift that off there. Now there's a switch here, so I want to make sure that I disconnect this little wire harness holding it. So let me grab a pair of pliers and we'll disconnect that harness. So you can just squeeze the sides of this in. It should go right through the hole there. And then there's a switch on the back side here. Find out how to get that switch out of there. I don't think I can get it out. However, luckily for us, there is a plug up here inside the unit. So I don't have to take the switch out. That's a nice design. Put that cover over there. Clean that up later. All right, now we're making some progress. You can see it's quite dirty, especially down here at the bottom. This is the area that gets the worst. And so we'll take a closer look at all that. You can see it's quite a lot of debris inside there. A lot of lint buildup. Looks like that's a temperature switch or safety switch. I'm sure there's a lot of lint inside this metal cover here. So we're gonna get into there on the front here, see what we got on the front of this unit. All right, so let's get a little closer here, see what we got, see what we're working with. The majority where our overheating problems lie is going to be inside this unit here. So let's start with, first put some of these screws back in so I don't lose track of them. This is for the front cover down here. Put that one there, this way, this one there, this one. Now this inner lint trap here, I think we'll take these 2 screws out. We'll be able to pull that lint trap right out of there. We'll be able to get that cleaned up real good. So that should come out. Probably needs to undo this plug here. Should come out pretty easily. I got a feeling that this guy here is probably, look at this, oh, that's some coins. I got a feeling that this guy here is probably a temperature sensor of some sort, because it's got these little thermistors or something on them, or components. Maybe it's the reason why it doesn't detect either temperature sensor or dampness sensor to detect how damp the clothes are. So we're going to clean that out later. And then there's a couple coins in there. Okay. Next step, so we're going to, since that's removed, I'll take this cover off here. Maybe the best thing to do first is to just put these screws back in, like I've been doing the whole time. Make sure that, we're not misplacing any screws. So that looks good there. All right. Okay. Take this cover off and see, there's probably a fan inside of here somewhere. It moves all the air to the other side over here. It comes out. So let's see what we got. A lot of buildup in there. And you can see when they assembled this thing, they never even assembled it correctly. The gasket didn't blow out on its own. It just was never assembled right in the first place. It was just poorly assembled. So I'll probably go to the hardware store before I assemble this back together again, or look and see. I might have some new gasket material. And that probably will prevent it from getting as bad as it's gotten inside of here. Because this is pretty built up debris inside here. So I bet you if I clean that out, it'll fix that. So I got a fan in here. And then there's a little, there's no rubber gasket. This is just all plastic. So I end up cleaning all that stuff out. That's a pretty big fan. I actually didn't expect there to be a fan there. Right where the debris comes in. Right where the lint all comes in from the dryer, but I didn't design it. Especially considering how much gets past the lint roller. I'm surprised the fan isn't more built up with debris. Okay, so put those screws back in. Let's go to the next cover here. Pull this guy off. A lot of buildup here. There's no real gasket around this, so but we're going to end up cleaning all that off. And there's a lot of buildup, especially because that gasket, there was no gasket there. It was all blowing into here, which now I'm not surprised why it's as dusty and linty as it is. Linty is even a word. Okay, well, that gives us some clear access, or much better access to the core. I'm not sure if any of this you remove, but what I will do, I'm going to take this sensor off, see just how dirty this sensor is. Re-put these screws back in so I don't mix them up. Okay. And it may be easier, believe it or not, I'm not sure, but it may be easier to pull the front of the drum cover off. But we'll take a close look at that before we get into that. So I really want to get on top of this all to clean this all out because it is very dirty. Oh, it's a very long screw. Okay. Yeah, so you see the sensor here. Sensor has a lot of debris. We can see it here. So this sensor just has debris kind of guarding it a little bit. So I wouldn't doubt that that debris is causing any issues with it properly picking up, what the interior is actually. Just one sensor there. So we can look on the wiring diagram and see exactly what sensor that one is. But it just picks up the air that's coming through. My assumption is going to be that's either temperature or humidity, but it's probably temperature. That's probably what that one is. Okay. That's the majority of the front here. We're going to clean all this out before we reassemble the unit. I'm going to put these screws back in here so I don't try those. Just like that. And then I might leave that sensor attached for now. It's not really in my way. So okay. You can see just how much debris. Usually there's a screen in front of this, but I actually cut it off so I can get to the core and clean out because everything was getting through the screen that's here. Everything was getting through the screen and into the core. Anyways, so the screen wouldn't allow you to get into there with a thing and clean it out. So about a year ago, I think I just cut the screen out so I can get in there and really clean the core. But obviously, as the stuff gets in, it still builds up inside there. So we're going to clean all this out and then go from there and see what we got. All right, so I'm thinking I'm going to try to do is take the front of this off in order to get to everything underneath it. So the drum the drum is essentially going to come out when we do this. I'm going to start with the top and take the screws off down around the front. And I should be able to remove the front plate. The drum will probably sit in there momentarily because there's a band on it we might have to take off. And then we should be able to pull the drum out and then really expose everything on the bottom to check and make sure everything is clean and we can clean everything out. So let's try that for our next step here and see what we have going on. I'll have to remove these screws that I temporarily put in. Let me see here. Let's pull this off. Let's go here. Let's go over here. So pull this off. Pull this over here. Pull these screws into the. Okay. Carefully. Pull up to the letter. Okay, so move forward a little bit here. And then lifts up. So it kind of pushes forward and lifts up to get it to unlatch off at the top there. Loose, loose. This is for the circuit board assembly. Remove that. Just fold it up out of the way. We'll leave most everything attached to it. We don't need to take it off. Put that guy there. Essentially, if you had to change the belt, you'd have to do most of these steps anyways to get in here to change the belt. So I guess it's kind of good we're doing this. Okay, so off. All right, that's off like that. Put this out here. Put the screws back in. That's the drum piece, so pull it through. That's right. Okay, this side. Now this is these little knobs here to hold this on, so it's not going to just fall off when you pull the screws out. Okay, pull those guys off there. Now let's see what we got. All right, side door there. Disassembly here, and there we go. So you can see the rollers have got a lot of buildup on them. It's good. We're going to clean all that out. Make sure these are all lubricated back up too before we reassemble them. They may be where some of the squeaky noise comes from when they get too hot. So that's that drum part. A little dusty. Once again, I'm going to put the screws back. I think that's where one went. Well, I know this one went here for sure. Okay, let's put these guys back. These look to be the shorter ones are on the bottom, and the longer one is on the top. Make sure I did that right. I don't think I did. So, well, it doesn't matter because apparently when they assembled it originally, they used the same screws. So, figure. Anyways, that's that. There's a belt on here. I'm sure it's a way to remove the tension on the belt. We get in through the side. So let me see how we can probably take this side panel off so we can get to the belt on that side. So let me remove this screw here. Okay. Let's go to the back side. This guy over here. I'm going to remove some screws on the back side along the edge over here. Over here. See it? So hopefully you can see this. One of the screws. This one. This one. This one. Okay. Pull this off top. Should go to the side. Yeah, let's see. You'll see. Take short bottom. Okay. So lift this guy. Comes away and then should lift up once we get it away. There we go. Side panels off. So this is the belt and the tensioner for the belt. So we're going to have to loosen that up so we get the belt loose, and then we'll be able to take the drum off, and we'll really be able to see everything inside of here and where all the mess is. I see another belt here. So we'll be able to clean. We'll really be able to get to everything once we get that off. I'll show you how the whole unit works as far as I can tell. See, loosen this belt up. Looks like the idler pulls towards you. Okay, belt's nice and loose now. Let's see, I'll move that over to the side and the back. Essentially, this should just lift right out of here. Oh, it's actually extremely light. All right, so this is the belt. If you ever had to change the belt, this would be where you would change it. I'm going to take a closer look and see how much debris is on it. It's probably, I don't even see, show you here. Just look along the belt. I don't even see any cracks or anything in this belt. That's amazing. It's really amazing. All right, we'll get the belt out of the way. As far as components in here, like I said before, it's essentially a small air conditioning unit in here. This is it's like a cover for the heater, but most of this is lint. Look at this, because that cover wasn't here to collect the air, all of this lint rolled right up underneath here and covered this whole thing. This is just crazy. They assemble things. So we're gonna, now that we got this all off, this is really good because we're gonna be able to get right in here and check these temperature sensors, make sure they're all clean. This is a sensor here. Be very careful when you're taking the stuff apart. And then this is the pump assembly over here, which this is the part that failed on me a couple times. First time I had to fix it. I'm going to pull that off. Not that there's anything wrong with it now, but I'll pull it off and show you what that looks like inside, because that's probably the part that would get messed up the easiest. This is wow. This is just incredible how much pulled up. Yeah, there's belt drives and pulley drives and all this stuff can squeak and squeal once they get built up with debris. So we're going to clean all that stuff out. This is the to get the heat out of the unit through here, through that fan in the back. So essentially, kind of like how it's like an air conditioning unit working in reverse in a way, I believe. So it's like a heat pump. So it generates the heat here on the cord. It's underneath this unit. And then it will take that excess heat and it will blow it out the back through this section of the unit. There's a little air conditioning compressor in here, and then obviously your lines for the air conditioning system. Once we get this cover off, we'll be able to see the core inside really well. So let's do that next. This one here. This one here. Okay. All right, thanks. Let's get this cover off here. So what's inside here? Remember, don't force anything. Matter of fact, there's 2 screws. A fan blade is. Can't believe they did that. So I actually have to, if I want to get this cover off, I actually have to take the fan blade off of here. It's quite surprising. But luckily, he gave some instructions to remove. Turn it this way. So as long as I hold the motor back here, pliers, I should be able to twist that right off of there. Okay, so a couple of scrapes and bruises. I managed to get this loose, but I needed a thin wrench here. And the wrench, there's actually the back over here. there's a way to get the wrench on. Probably see it. There's actually a way to get the wrench on this shaft. There's like a tiny little flat spot on the shaft. You can get the wrench on, and then the wrench on, I'm able to spin this guy off. Holding, I actually just grab you should probably use a rag or something so you don't cut your fingers up like I did. I use a rag and you can pull this band blade right off of here. See it threaded over there. So only a couple of scrapes later. Some more debris. So now that's off. You can take this one screw. That's all we needed. One screw. They had to put that there. I guess that was necessary. One screw for that. So with that screw, looks like there's one more screw left right here. Sticky stuff. Okay. Should be there. Should be there. There. Looks like there's a little bit of the gasket here on the back. I'll peel that off and stick that back on later. Let me go get a little scraper. Scrape that off. Just want to peel this. Re-stick that on later. Try to get too much debris on it. Just some foam gasket. There we go. Here, move this switch here. One of those little, so they should always come apart easily. As you can see, they should always come apart easily. You should never have to force. There's usually a locking tab somewhere on them all the time. So never force connections apart because then you'll break them. You have a bigger issue on your hands. So that's it. So that's the top of the unit now. See just how bad this really is. You can see the core. This is caked right up with material. And then there's a second core back here, which is also caked up with a lot of extra material, which obviously you would never get to any other way. So good thing we got it all off. Now I can blow all of that out. Suck it all up with the shop vac. Clean everything out. And it will be good to reassemble this thing. Just want to show you this shaft here. It's here around here. See, this is the shaft. That'll hold it right in place. I didn't see that earlier, but you can see it now. But it needs to be skinny enough to get in there with a wrench. You might be able to do it with a regular 7/16, depending on what type of wrench it is. But this is a thin walled wrench. I'm going to put this belt back on before we reassemble. I just want to make sure I didn't damage anything when I grabbed this earlier, put any burrs for the belt. I don't want to damage the belt. Okay. So last step now, I just want to show you the pump, because that was a problem that I had before. So this is the pump back here that collects all the water and pumps it out. There's actually a little drain hose that we're going to just disconnect. I think there's it just pops off the side back here, that drain hose. And then show you what the inside of the pump looks like, and the part that failed when the pump stopped working. So you can do this inside with everything still kind of mostly assembled, just through the back corner here. Not the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. You just need a right angle, socket or whatever to get to this guy down here behind the tensioner in order to get that off. That's really the biggest problem. Okay, so those two screws, I believe this just pops. There's like a little latch over here. Somewhere on here there was a latch to get this off. Let's take a look. It's on the back side. go. There you go. See, it's over here actually. Here's one. Here's the other. Should slide forward and then lift up. Okay. Now, like I said, you can pull that out through the back side. There's also a couple plugs on here. Maybe I'll pull those off so you can see it better. Both different plugs, so I can't really mix them up. So it's the float assembly to tell when it's overflowed, which you can see is clearly full of debris. Underneath here, there's a little rubber plunger in there, a little rubber flapper, and that's what throws the water out the thing. So one side of that actually broke off. Once I get this all cleaned down better, I'll show you what that looks like. But this is water, and God knows what other nastiness collects in there from the heat exchanger over here. So it looks like we should be good to go with that. So this thing should be collecting the heat coming out, condensing it into water. Water goes into the tray here, and then it blows that water out through the back of the unit. And that's really the whole unit as a whole. So I'm going to clean this all out with a shop vac and blow it out with a blowgun, and then we'll put it back together again. And it should work just fine. I'm going to go through and clean these bearings all out. These look like they're pretty easy to come apart. They just have, you can see them over here, not really, you know. So these look like they're just basic little keepers to keep those on. Get a little, because it should be pretty easy to take off and clean. You can put a little oil on them. Try this guy over here, maybe. Okay, like I said, very careful. But now we can pull these right off of here. Take off all the debris, pull them right off. And they're, you know, you can put a little bit of oil in there. It's not going to hurt anything. And then put it back on. That should help prevent them from getting any worse, or prevent them from, you know, wearing down too quickly. There's some slight oil on there already, but that's how they, see how stiff it is. Got to make sure it's really clean, and then the fit is very tight so the debris doesn't get inside there. So we'll oil it up a little bit. See that? Only takes a little bit of debris to make that spin well. We'll oil it up, and then we'll put that back together. Okay.
So here you can see a picture of the stud that the roller rides on, and you can see all of the debris there at the very bottom. It all has to be removed before reassembling. Alright, so here you have a picture of the roller with all the debris removed, and it's all cleaned up now, ready to be reassembled. And you can see the little plastic clip that has to be removed to get the roller off that I was talking about earlier. So be very careful when removing that plastic clip. Here's a picture of the cleaned up evaporator core. Before reassembly, I had to use a little bit of water to wash this down and some cleaner just to kind of get it really clean. We also have a picture of the condenser core as well that had to be cleaned. I washed that down as well, and any of the water that was in there got collected in the catch bin for where the pump goes, and I just cleaned it out from there. So as you can see here, this is the catch bin all cleaned out as well. I removed all that nasty stuff that was in there. Here we have a close-up of the float and the pump assembly all cleaned up before being reinstalled, and I'm just making sure that the float on the right-hand side doesn't have any debris keeping it from moving up and down like it's supposed to. Before putting the cover back on, I had to make sure to install that screen section in front of the core. Even though there's no screen in it anymore, it's still necessary to kind of direct the flow of air into the core correctly. As I had mentioned earlier, the gasket was missing or blown out on this part that goes in front of the fan, so I've replaced it with a new gasket. It's just a thin gasket material you can get at Lowe's, like that foam gasket maker. I also had to install a new gasket around the dryer vent portion where the air flows down, because that was also worn out pretty bad. So you can see it here replaced. And finally, it's really important when you install that the gasket stays installed and doesn't come out between the stainless or between the metal frame when you're trying to reinstall it. If the gasket's too thick that you use, it can get jammed up in there and stick out, and then it won't keep the heat directed where it's supposed to go. I'd just like to thank everybody for watching this video and hope it helped you understand your dryer better, or a dryer similar to the one that I took apart, and you know what kind of task it is to get inside the dryer and just take things apart, clean it all out, and how important it is to get it cleaned. After doing this, the dryer works great. It's been running now almost 6 months, and it runs on all the cycles correctly and dries the clothes correctly, so I consider this a success in getting this to finally work much better. Whereas before it would just run on a time cycle only, and sometimes it would even overheat. So if you like this video, please subscribe. It'll let me know that more people would like to see things like this, and as I fix and repair other things that are out there, I will try to record them and put them together and upload them for everybody's viewing. And thank you so much.